Okay, guys, we're on this series on the 1,335 days, and I know for some of you, you might think, well, Leland, we can't actually know when that is, or how can you, say such things? Now, I understand that, but I also understand that you most likely have not gone through all the detail of the teaching, and, just to be frank, you actually just don't understand the book of Revelation. And that's what we're going to go over is we teach the Bible, we teach the book of Revelation so that we get an idea of, all right, if we see certain things come to pass, if we see prophecy being fulfilled, then we have a premise of if this happens, then this must happen. I remember I was given a computer as a teenager, and it was a Commodore 64, and you had to type commands. It was before a mouse, and there was a command called if then, and you would type the command if, and then you would say something. So if such and such, then was the other command, then this. Okay, so it's a command. It's a principle that if we see this happen, then this must happen. Now, we try to teach this in a way that we can understand it visually, okay? Because if we talk about these things, we talk about seals, we talk about trumpets and bowls, still, I've been saying the same thing over and over for 7 years, and the people just glaze over and don't know anything of what I'm talking about. All right, there's 7 churches, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls. The seals is like the Lamb opens a seal and the book is open. Okay, you have, after 7 seals, you have 7 trumpets. Okay, you have 7 trumpets, and with the 7 trumpets, then you have 7 of those. Then you have 7 bowls. Okay, so for whatever reason, if I take a bowl and I put it in your face, you say, oh, that's a bowl. But if I say a bowl, you're like, huh? What? But anyway, so basically we have the 7 churches, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls, all happening in 14 years. 7 good years, 7 bad years, okay? Now, that whole prophecy, okay, must have things take place and fulfill in order for us to see the next command, if then. All right? So what we're going to do in this video is just do a summary of all the teachings that we've done in the time period that we're talking about of these trumpets. So more or less what's taken place since. We're going to talk a lot about the Antichrist. Okay, the Antichrist would be physical signs of things we would see. There would be also important prophecies that would have to come to pass. We would have to have the mark of the beast. Okay, we would have to have certain lunar and solar eclipses happen at particular times, particular feasts. There would have to be a global plague. Okay. So what we're getting at is these are trumpets 5, 6, and 7. Trumpet 5, 6, and 7. And what that's leading to is the book of Revelation, chapter 9, chapter 10, 11, okay, deals with this time period here. Now, Revelation chapter 12 deals with a 7-year period of time. So some of that is in those 7 years. Those 7 years are the 7 trumpets and 7 bowls that take place over 7 years. All right. And then we have Revelation 13 and Revelation 14. So all of that would happen. We have indications of things happening in close proximity to the feast leading up to the Revelation 16 when we have the 7 bowls, okay? So if we're in the time period of the 7 trumpets, we would have to see, things coming to pass. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, is the very, very important prophecies being fulfilled that have happened. All right, so once we get to 1,335 days, where do those days fit in the book of Revelation? Well, they're part of the prophecy of the seventh trumpet, because the angel says, in the days of the seventh trumpet, okay, as spoken by the servants, the prophets. Okay, the servant, the prophet, is Daniel. So that's the angel of the covenant speaking in Revelation chapter 10. So in Revelation chapter 10, he is speaking to John, okay, but he also spoke to Daniel about 1,335 days. Now, as a quick reference, we will go back. I'm looking at pages in my notes. Previously, when we looked at how Revelation chapter 12 fulfills the 1,335 days, let's go over it quickly. Number one, we have in Revelation 11, we have a seventh angel sounding his trumpet. This is giving us an indication of the Feast of Trumpets. Feast of Trumpets happens in the seventh month in the fall, and it's the first day of the seventh month, beginning the feast of the fall. Okay, so on the first day of the seventh month, you blow the trumpet. All right, you see that Revelation 11:15. All right, Revelation 10:7 says, this begins the days of the voice of the seventh angel, as he declared to the servants of prophets. That's Revelation 10:7. Then it says, the temple of God was open in heaven, and they were seen the Ark of the Covenant. This is now Yom Kippur. So first day of the seventh month, you blow the trumpet, Feast of Trumpets. 10th day is Yom Kippur, okay? So the temple was open in heaven, they were seeing the Ark of the Covenant. It was one day a year, you would see the Ark of the Covenant on the 10th day of the seventh month. So, there we see an indication leading into Revelation 11:19, the Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, okay? Then we see the woman clothed with the sun, Revelation 12:1, all right? So that sign happened on Yom Kippur, September 22nd, 2017, thus giving us a demarcation, a perfect line in the sand to then see the 7 years that would transpire afterwards, okay? Then it says she goes into her place 1,260 days. Now what this is this is the first day of the first month when Moses set up the tabernacle. Okay, so the place prepared of God is leading to 1,260 days. That's the first day of the first month. So when we blew the trumpet on the first day of the seventh month, you go 3.5 years, you come to the springtime, you come to the first month where Passover is, and the first day of the first month we have the tabernacle being set up. Okay. So when this happens, we see this displayed in Revelation chapter 12. So she had a place prepared first day of the first month. Then we see the blood of the Lamb. Okay, it says they overcame by the blood of the Lamb. That's Passover. So now in Revelation chapter 12, we're going through a sequence of the feasts starting from the first day of the first month. Understand? Then it says, they love not their lives unto death. This has an indication of the resurrection. Okay? In the resurrection, when Christ was resurrected, that was 5 days after Passover. Okay, so he had Passover, he did all those things. Then he was crucified, he laid in the grave 3 days. And then the first day of the week, you have resurrection. Now, it's not in our notes in the video, guys. But we also have a pattern here, because when you see here Revelation 12, the blood of the Lamb, we have an indication of Passover. Okay, then you have those days. Now, once we lead to Pentecost, all right, we're also going to have a pattern of the two witnesses. The two witnesses, it says, their bodies lie in the street 3.5 days. 3.5 days, okay? Then what it says is after 300 days, the Spirit gives them life. There's a resurrection. They resurrect from the dead, right? Because they're dead bodies in the street. They resurrect, and a voice says, come up hither. Now, what had happened there is you got the same period of time, just like at Christ. Because you remember at Christ, at his first coming, then he was resurrected on first fruits, right? And when he was resurrected, they saw the patriarchs. They saw people in Matthew 27:52 and 53, it says they saw people resurrected with Christ, right? After his same days. So the two witnesses give an indication of the same thing. So that you would have their bodies rise in the street. Okay. They will be a sign, okay? They will be resurrected, okay? And then we would see the actual big resurrection in a similar pattern that Christ in his first coming. You see that? Okay. I just want to put that as a side note. Now back to Revelation 12. So they love not their lives unto death. We get the resurrection. Then it says, Revelation 12:12, rejoice you dwelling in heaven. This is Pentecost. So then 50 days. So what you do is you count from the resurrection. They love not their lives unto death. You count 50 days from the resurrection. You come to Pentecost. When you come to Pentecost, the command is to rejoice. Okay? Rejoice, you heavens. Rejoice at the feast. All right? And then we see the rejoicing taking place in Revelation 14. So there we have the pattern. And this is the previous video, guys, I'm referring to. I'm reading the notes. The first day of the first month when the tabernacle was set in heaven. We see Revelation 12 fulfilling perfectly the feast going from the first day of the first month to Pentecost, okay? So the 1,335 days is leading us to the same precise time period of the Feast of Pentecost. Now, what we have to ask ourselves is, all right, well, what indications in the prophecy can tell us that things are happening and that we would actually expect something like this? Now, as we do this, guys, you might, I know most of you told, well, Leela, no one knows the day or the hour, or it gives us a certain indication that you shouldn't have any clue of when Christ will come as the Son of Man in the clouds to gather the elect. Okay, the coming of the Son of Man, the resurrection. There would be no clue, no concept at all. Okay, and you're thinking, in fact, you would not actually understand anything in the book of Revelation. That's the apostate church, guys. Those are liars and hypocrites and Freemasons and Satan worshipers that never want you to know this truth, okay? They never want you to know and to repent and to turn to him and to realize this is the time, okay? They never want you to know that. So they're going to lie. They're going to tell you nothing is true. Oh, no, it's not this. It's not that. It's not the mark of the beast. Yes, it is. Everything is happening absolutely perfect. So let's look at our notes. Now, just a way of demonstrating understanding this is these diagrams here. You can see, of course, we have a menorah and we have something called the seven-sided stone. So the seven-sided stone is in Zechariah chapter 3. The menorah is in Zechariah chapter 4. And they give us an indication of how we can demonstrate the time, how we can visually represent this in a way that is understandable to the people. So what are the physical signs? They are eclipses. So yeah, the Revelation 12 sign happened September 22nd, 2017. That began the 7 years, okay? So 7 years here started at Revelation 12, 2017 at this point. All right. So as we look at it, our marker here was the great solar eclipse that was over America, okay? August 21st, 2017, giving us an indication we're heading into the 7 trumpets, okay? So once that went off, then we go into this time period here. And then as we do, each one of these, you can see, is a marker, okay, of a significant eclipse, all right? So, for example, this one, you can see here, is the first trumpet, second trumpet, and you can see we got the mark here, trumpet 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Now, as we go through these trumpets and we go through this prophecy, there's something where some of these are held back. It said, don't let the winds blow until we've sealed the servants of God in their forehead. So there's a holding back of some of these, but we can see signs of many of them. But once we get to the woes, so there's a woe at the 5th trumpet, 6th trumpet, and 7th trumpet. That's woe number 1, 2, and 3. Okay? As we get to those woes, we begin to enter the prophecy of the 7th trumpet, all right? And one of those is the mark of the beast. Okay, so you see December 14th, 2020, okay? That's the mark of the beast. So what we're doing is over here, we're giving you a marker, an indication of when these have happened. Now, many of these will say ahead of time. If we know a prophecy is going to happen, based on this information, we'll speak it ahead of time. But we would have the daily sacrifice taken away. We would have the Antichrist being revealed. we would have the peace deal, okay? So the peace deal would have a marker of an eclipse, all right? We'd have the mark of the beast. We showed you the mark of the beast, solar eclipse in the 9th month. That was Hanukkah, okay? And then we have the 1,335 days marked with a blood moon, okay? So those happen within the construct of, okay, certain woes. You can see it says woe, woe, woe. So the 5th trumpet, so you can see the 5th trumpet as we go into the sun darkened, the 4th trumpet. This is going on. They're just deceiving it from us. We have other videos. Okay, that's when the Antichrist is revealed towards the end. Then as we go into the 5th trumpet, it makes it clear that there's a king over the locusts. Okay, he comes from the bottomless pit. So that king over the locust would give us an indication of when the Antichrist would begin his 42 months, all right? Then we have the peace deal. Okay, of course, the peace deal happened. You have the mark of the beast. So all these things would have to happen, and we would have to watch for them happening within certain time periods, like these certain eclipses, certain times of the feast. Okay, all these indicators should give us an idea of what we should watch. Okay, now, you guys, if you want to fight and argue with this information, you're not going to get very far, because what we're doing is something where many of you are worldly. Okay, you are caught up in the affairs of the world, and you are blind and deceived, and because of that, you can't see these things. Because you can't see those things, you attack those. That's an indication of you're also fulfilling the prophecy of the mockers and the scoffers, just like it says, okay? Now, here's our notes for this video. And as you look, again, we have seals, trumpets. And what we're talking about is the days of the 7th trumpet will conclude at the 1,335 days. So how is it that we can know what that is? How is it that we can come to terms with, well, if this happens, then this happens, right? So once we come to this 7th trumpet, certainly we would have to see many things fulfilled. Now, when we look at the seals, many of the seals are things that, people will say, well, 1/4 of the world must die. And they'll say all kinds of false prophecies. It says, no, the angels have charge over 1/3 of the earth, not the population of the earth, okay? So those seals were released with the blood moons. So that was Passover 2014. You got the blood moons. The seals were released. Now, the Son of Man, when he comes in the clouds, that's the 6th seal. So not everything in the 6th seal has happened. We're not saying that. But you have ISIS that was martyring Christians, okay? That's the 5th seal, okay? Many of the seals have happened, and they continue to happen. So once these things are open, they continue to happen. They don't happen in a little box like this, and then it's over, and it goes on to the next one. They continually happen, all right? So the days of the 7th trumpet will conclude. All right, so what we're talking about is 1,335 days. So we would come from the sign of the woman clothed with the sun, and then we would have to go for 3.5 years. Okay, we'd have to go 3.5 years, okay, to come to this time period of Pentecost in the year 2021. Okay? So this is the days of the voice of the 7th angel, all right? So what has been fulfilled that we can see in Revelation chapters 11, 12, 13, and 14? So are we seeing these things fulfilled? How can we say it's 1,335 days if the prophecy is not fulfilled? We would have to see prophecy fulfilled. So, when we're talking about the 7th trumpet, okay, the Antichrist, in the 7th trumpet, before we get to the Antichrist, in the 6th trumpet, okay, we can see that the host, the great multitude, they begin their 42 months, they're prepared for an hour. That's in Revelation 11, verse 2, okay? It says there's the palace that is outside the holy city. They will tread 42 months. So what this means is the great multitude, okay, they're prepared for the harvest. So they're also the sixth trumpet army, and it's the hour of the harvest. Okay, the hour of the harvest, you see Revelation 14:15, when the great multitude cleanses their garments. And Revelation 7:14 says, who are these great multitude? These are those that came out of great tribulation, and they have washed their garments. Okay, so it's at the sixth bowl that they would have prepared to wash their garments. You see the sixth bowl in Revelation 16:12, and Revelation 16:15, it says, watch and keep your garments. Okay, so that concludes the 42 months. That's the sixth trumpet army. That is the great multitude. That's the great harvest. Now at the fifth trumpet, this is the information here about the Antichrist. In the fifth trumpet, we would see the son of perdition. He is the king that comes out of the bottomless pit. So he would be revealed. Okay? So the fifth trumpet is here. And so you can see the Antichrist, he starts his reign. He begins those 42 months. Now, this is the scarlet colored beast in Revelation 17:3, the scarlet colored beast, which is the son of perdition. He goes into perdition. You can see that in verses 8 and 11. In Revelation 13, he's called one of the heads, and he received the plague. Okay? King James says wound, but in the Greek, it's a plague. Okay, so he receives the same plague as the fifth trumpet. Okay? We have a type and shadow of this. The same thing happened to Antiochus Epiphanes. He also received the plague. Okay, he was a pattern of that. So the deadly wound happened. Okay? Now, when it did, the Antichrist said words in Revelation 13. He said he was healed by the therapeutics. Okay? He said these were miracles of God. All of these are in Revelation 13:3, that the seventh head would say this. Okay, he was healed by the therapeutics. And he said these are wonders from heaven. These are miracles. Okay, so that Donald Trump, it has to be the Antichrist. Okay, he's fulfilled this seventh head. So the prophecy is happening. Now, those 42 months that he begins, so we saw that the fifth trumpet, he's the king that comes out of the bottomless pit. Those 42 months happens when he blasphemes. Okay? Blasphemes during the fourth trumpet. In Ezekiel 32:7, it talks about the lion dragon when the sun, moon, and stars are darkened. Now, we saw the sun, moon, and stars are darkened at the fourth trumpet here, and it's the time period of the fourth trumpet. Now, this has happened. Okay, there's eclipses happening of the sun. There's just technology blocking it so that people can't see. All right, but it's happening. There's other planets and all kinds of stuff doing regular eclipses of a third of the sun, moon, and stars. So that in Ezekiel 32, it tells us that would be at this time period. Okay, the Antichrist would start those 42 months. All right, and we know those 42 months begins when he blasphemes. Okay, He typed up on his Twitter account the second coming of God. He said, I am the chosen one, so he's the Antichrist. Those 42 months started. Now, what he would do is he would institute the mark of the beast. So then we should see other major prophetic signs, the mark of the beast. So Revelation 13:16, what we're doing, guys, we're going through. We can see how Revelation 11, certain things being fulfilled, Revelation 17, Revelation 13, Revelation 14. Okay? Basically, we should see signs and indicators of these prophecies being fulfilled. Okay? If this happens, then this happens. All right? Okay. So Revelation 13:16, that we would have the mark of the beast, and it was instituted precisely on Hanukkah, the day of the solar eclipse, December 14, 2020, by the Antichrist, which is the third angel's message. In Revelation 14, verses 9 through 11, he talks about the mark of the beast and the result of the mark of the beast. And it must happen before the first bowl, okay? So you can see here, we're saying, okay, this is the mark of the beast. This happens at this eclipse. And this must happen in this seventh trumpet because the people that have the mark of the beast, they have ulcers. That's the first bowl. So the mark of the beast would already be in effect, be instituted by the first bowl. Okay? And we are seeing signs already of the pharmakia giving people skin conditions, and we're already seeing indications of this. But many of the signs and indicators of the mark of the beast will be withheld because they can be triggered at a future point. Okay? So the people take the pharmakia, the poison is in their system, and it's only a matter of time before they refuse to repent and all those things. Guys, we're going to have another video where we talk about how we would have physical manifestations, physical behaviors to give us an indication if someone is already controlled by the Antichrist and the mark of the beast system. Okay. They're all, taking it, saying everything is fine, but it's a matter of time. Okay. And many of you have already told me the behaviors of people. All right. So we got the first boar, and the sore comes as a result of the mark. And remember in Revelation 18:23, is by their sorceries, in the Greek pharmakia, were the nations deceived. In Revelation 19 and 20, it said, the beast and the false prophet deceive them which receive the mark of the beast. So the people are deceived. They are ignorant of the prophecy. They deny the fact this is the mark of the beast. The pharmakia is the mark of the beast. And unfortunately, that's it. Okay? So you can read what the third angel's message is, Revelation 14, 9 through 11. He talks about the mark of the beast. Now, in Revelation 14, again, we're just seeing how Revelation is being perfectly fulfilled. 14 verse 8 said the second angel, his message was, Babylon is fallen. Okay, so now once we had the fifth trumpet locust plague, then we get the economies of the world crashing as a result of the lockdown. Okay, so Babylon has fallen, affecting the whole world. Now, once we have seen the Antichrist is revealed, once we've seen the mark of the beast, okay, once we've seen his deadly wound or his deadly plague, which is the fifth trumpet plague, all right, then, okay, we would have to see Revelation chapter 14, verse 1. Therefore, okay, remember our if, then. So if we've seen all this, then we would expect the prophecy to continue. Therefore, the 144,000 with the name of him and the name of the Father on their foreheads around the Lamb in Revelation 14:1, okay, and the elders. It doesn't say 24 elders. This is the other class of people, the man-child. They are redeemed from the earth and from men. Okay? So this is redeemed from the earth. So this is what we believe to be the resurrection. Okay? The resurrection would have taken place from the earth and from men. This is a Revelation 14, 1 through 5, where you can read about it. Now, how this ties into Pentecost, we go back to Revelation 12:12. It says, they rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. So remember, you're commanded to rejoice on Pentecost. Giving us an indication of Pentecost. And then it says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth. All right, Revelation 12:12. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth. So this is one of the woes. Now it says in Revelation 11 verse 14, the second woe is past, and the third woe comes quickly. So there's a woe that completes with the two witnesses. All right, and that's why we're saying, guys, we're talking about a season. We're not saying a particular day. We're saying where the resurrection is going to happen. We're talking about a season of a feast of Pentecost. We're talking about several weeks. Okay, so the Pentecost is the 8th day of the 3rd month. Okay, then it would last a week, and then the next week is when the Most High came on Mount Sinai. So we're given a window of time. So that's why it says the second woe is past, and the third woe comes quickly. So then it says the seventh angel sounded, and this is the time that the dead should be judged. He would reward his servants, the prophets, and the saints that fear your name. This is the resurrection. So when the dead are judged, that's the resurrection. When he rewards the servants, the prophets, and the saints, that's the 144,000 gathered around the throne. Okay? So that's why we're saying if we would see all these things happen, we would see Revelation 14:1 happen. Okay? Now, This also is seen, as shown in Revelation 12, when the woman is given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she fly into the wilderness for a times and a half a time. So when she flies in the wilderness that's another 3.5 years. Okay, so she's given these 2 wings of an eagle. So we're concluding that those 2 wings of the eagle is the resurrection, is those redeemed from the earth and from men. It is the 144,000, which is not a symbolic number. It is a literal number. And we have lots of videos on this. We don't have the time, but that was the time period in Pentecost 2021, at which point we would have the bowls judgments taking place over another 3.5 year period. So you might say, well, what if I'm not one of the 144,000? What if your interpretations don't happen the way you're saying? Then we would look at 2023. So in the year 2023, okay, if we don't make this, if it doesn't go down the way we think, then we look in the fall. We look at the fall feast in 2023. That's what we said before about the 42 months. Prepare for an hour of the great harvest. Okay, so then we have the great harvest. Now we see an indication here of a distinction between the great multitude and the 144,000. We have lots of videos on this, guys. I'm just giving you this so you will have these notes. I'll make these notes available to you, and in trying to make this as clear as possible about all this information of how we can say this is the 7th trumpet. Okay, this is the time of the 7th trumpet. This is the 1,335 days spoken of by Daniel. Guys, I also want to go through some notes from a previous video we did proving that Revelation chapters 8 through 11 are connected perfectly with 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and the resurrection and the 7th trumpet. So what you see here is the verbiage of what it says in Revelation 8, 9, and 11, and 1 Corinthians. Okay, here you see the verses on the side, and you can just see quickly the kingdoms of this world. He shall reign forever. Testify to him the mystery of God, the mighty angel, the armies, the breastplate. They repented not of their works. The seal of God, first fruits, the sun, moon, and stars. All of these are different bullet points of what you can see in Revelations chapters 8, 9, and 10 with the trumpets, and how those are all seen in 1 Corinthians 15, proving to us perfectly that 1 Corinthians 15 is the resurrection. The resurrection is the 7th trumpet. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of the menorah, the eclipses, okay, them marking the seals, the trumpets, the bowls, and our pattern, our 7-sided pattern on how it shows us the time, also Daniel's timeline. So guys, what we'll do is we'll have the notes. We'll make them available to you. Also links to these diagrams. And hopefully that makes sense, where if we would see certain things being fulfilled, we would expect the prophecy to continue. Okay? So many of them are things that happen in the spirit, but many of them are things that we can have physical signs of. Okay, we would have to have the Antichrist. You would have to have the deadly wound. We would have to have the mark of the beast. All of those things are happening. And you can see, because those things are happening, it's very clear that the prophecy says it's happening. But look at the confusion. All right, that's what Babylon means. Babylon means confusion. Look at the people, how the people are saying, well, we don't know. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. Are we in the tribulation? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. The signs in the heaven are pointing to it. The physical signs of everything in the prophecy, the mark of the beast is a continual thing. It's going to get worse and worse. Okay? But it's proving that the people, they trust in the beast. They're worshiping the beast. By taking the mark of the beast, you're worshiping the beast. It's showing your allegiance. Okay? So it's only those that overcome the beast. All right? They have the harps of God. They're on the sea of glass. So we'll have the notes available. We'll have these diagrams available. I can't emphasize enough for you to get this information. Look at the playlist, the 1,335 days. We go through a lot more detail. Look at the other things we've already covered, how the channel works. Very simply, if you say, what about this? I'm not going to really answer stupid questions if you won't extend 2 minutes to just look at the information. If you want to know about a question of something that we've covered here briefly, for example, if you want to know the Antichrist, you want to know the deadly wound, go to the Antichrist playlist. When you're on YouTube, you'll see videos, playlists, community. All right. Click on playlist. You'll see the list of playlists. Go to Donald Trump is the Antichrist. Then you'll see the videos on the therapeutics, on the deadly wound. There, we've covered that. All right. Other videos on the sixth trumpet, the great multitude. Go to the Rapture series. Okay. The Rapture series videos, we talk about the Great Harvest. We talk about the 42 months, okay? Those are other videos. On the resurrection, on the 144,000, there's a playlist, the 144,000. Now, there's so much information, I can't just link it all in the description of the video because actually YouTube is screwing up those links. A lot of the links are not working. So I'm doing my best to organize this. The other thing I'm going to do is if you have any trouble with any of the links of the documents, the PDF files, almost all of them are in 2 folders. One of them is called All. One of them is called Calendars and Timelines. Okay, so if you're interested in a timeline, you click Calendars, and then you'll see all the calendars, all the years, all the timelines, all the charts, all the graphs. All right. If you want all the notes, okay. For example, this one. It's 1,335 days. Okay. We're going to organize our notes for 1,335 days in one PDF document. Okay. I'm going to do my best to get that to you today, or at least by the time or shortly after you guys see the video. So, guys, thanks for watching. Fear God. Give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment has come. Worship Him that made the heavens, the earth, the seas, and the fountains of waters. Amen. That's the first angel. Talk to you later.